Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate all of you with Club Sport for taking some time to chat and learn about UCAN here today with myself, as well as Seth Bronheim, registered dietitian and director of nutrition for Generation UCAN. My name is Varan Sriram. I've had a chance to meet a lot of you folks already. Some of you folks on the call I haven't met. I'm based here locally in the Bay Area, just moved out to Berkeley, and I handle the marketing for Generation UCAN. And I've got my colleague Seth, who's back on the East Coast near our corporate headquarters in Connecticut, on with me as well. Seth, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, Varun. Doing great.
Awesome. So really the goal of today is to really start from the beginning and give everybody on this call, sort of an understanding of some of the fundamental science behind UCAN products, where the backstory to UCAN, how we launched, and then really to talk specifically about the diverse applications of both the UCAN powders and bars and how all of you can implement them at the club level with members, as well as for yourselves, for those of you that are interested in utilizing UCAN yourself. And this will be recorded fully, so we'll be sending out a recording to Caesar and the team afterwards. And for anybody that can only be here for part of this or wants to reference both the slides as well as the content after the fact, we will make this available to you as well as the slide presentation. Also, just wanted to say that we want to make this as interactive as we can. For those of you that are logged in on your computer, there is a tab on the GoToWebinar app where you can ask us questions, and we will, address all of them either at the end or as we move along as they're relevant. So please do take advantage of that, and we'll plan to go here about 40 to 45 minutes. So that's sort of what we're looking at for timeline. Before we dive into the meat of it, Seth, I'll give you the first chance. I've been talking a lot off the jump, but just would love for you to share with the folks in the audience how you got involved with UCAN and what intrigued you about UCAN, where you wanted to be part of it.
So, um, so I'm a registered dietitian. I went to school for dietetics, and right after college, I was interning for the former New York Jets nutritionist, and basically around a year later, she sends me this white paper all about superstarch. She knew I was fascinated with blood sugar, especially with insulin, and I saw the findings, and I especially saw our blood sugar curve, or just a straight red line, and I just said I want that red line, and I actually ordered 6 packets of UCAN back in like 2010, and I was always treating my body like a laboratory, and I was really just starting out. I was having some clients, and then I started working at a facility, and um, really I put my body to the test. I remember, just back in like when I was in 11th grade, got the first Muscle Tech bars, and they were like 20-gram protein, some type of bars saying like stimulate protein synthesis, and just always was fascinated with the product side of the industry, which kind of really got me interested in products. Um, so then, I tested UCAN, and I was running 100-yard hill sprints at the time, and been running them 3 days per week, and I was in a very big, powerlifting mode at the time, and was making sure my squat, bench, and deadlift weren't getting affected by hill sprints, but they definitely did. Um, and I would only run 500-yard hill sprints as the workout, but during the workouts, usually I would have this brain fatigue and just kind of at the bottom of the hill hesitate to go back up. Um, and with UCAN, I had no brain fatigue. I really felt steady. At the bottom of the hill, I didn't hesitate to go back up. And my energy afterward was also interesting. I didn't have the adrenaline crash you might have after, high intensity exercise. It doesn't happen right after, but that 2 hours later, sometimes you feel didn't have that. Um, and then at my facility, I started having 8-year-olds using UCAN for their tennis, and I had 50-year-old weight management clients using it. And eventually, quit working as a personal trainer and registered dietitian to go full force with UCAN.
Awesome, Seth. And just to briefly share my background with folks. So as you can tell, Seth comes to us with a wealth of both training and nutrition knowledge, and really fortunate to have him as part of the UCAN team. For myself, I was really coming to it from a different area. My whole background in education was in journalism and communication. So I was a sports reporter on local TV for a few years out of college. And after a few years of doing that, I learned about UCAN and really was intrigued by two things initially. First, the story behind the products, which we'll get into in a moment. I just thought, how cool is that? This is something that wasn't developed to sell, initially to sell products to consumers, but is really something that was developed for a life-changing reason. And then I just really connected actually with the name UCAN. I was thinking for a company in sports and fitness that just kind of like Nike has Just Do It. I thought, what a cool name as a marketer, just that idea of UCAN and that empowering idea. So that was what initially intrigued me about the company and the products. But as I learned more about it and had a chance to talk to some top experts in the nutrition field who really had no skin in the game in terms of speaking out on UCAN, but really felt that it was so revolutionary. I just felt like I need to be a part of building this. This is something that's so different and has the ability to impact so many people in a positive way, and I really want to be part of building that success. And then kind of my own, I guess, UCAN story in terms of actually testing the product in October of 2010, which is a little bit before I joined the company full time. I went to hike the Grand Canyon, and I was using a packet of UCAN roughly every 3 hours. So we hiked South Rim. It's 8 miles down and 8 miles back up. We did it in the course of a day. It was about 8 or 9 hours. And I saw all my friends, stuffing their face with Swedish fish and trail mix and all sorts of things the entire way. And I was just having this mystery powder every 3 hours. We didn't have the bars back at that time, and really felt tremendous consistency and energy the entire way. Had of course muscle soreness from the really steep hike back up, but just the energy and like Seth said, the brain energy. Just being in tune with how I was feeling and not sluggish or lethargic. That was a huge deal for me in terms of the actual use of the product. So as we stand here today, I do a lot of the marketing for UCAN, and Seth does a lot, on the sales and nutrition side. But being a young company with, a fairly tight team, you'll see us doing a whole bunch of things. So many of you will have a chance to meet Seth when he comes out here in January to do stuff individually at the club level. And with myself, I've, like I said, had the pleasure to meet a lot of you folks already, and being in the Bay Area now, you'll see me in and out of the clubs pretty much all year next year. So with that, Seth, let's really dive in to the meat of our presentation today. And let's start with really telling folks why UCAN even came to be. So Seth, take it away. What is the story behind the origins of UCAN?
So UCAN was never meant to be used for fitness or for everyday energy. I mean, our company actually started for JONAH, our founder's son. He has a rare disease where basically he has life-threatening low blood sugar, and if JONAH's not fed every 2 hours, he wouldn't live. So our founder's wife, Wendy, she was setting multiple alarm clocks at night, basically every 2 hours, and she was afraid she would miss one of those feedings. Take a step back. JONAH has a rare disease called glycogen storage disease. He can't convert the carbohydrates in his liver into his bloodstream. He lacks the enzyme. The way we all sleep at night is that we actually use around 6 to 8 grams of glucose on the hour every hour. So you stay asleep at night and you don't wake up at 3 a.m. With low blood sugar. So since JONAH can't use his liver glycogen, and they were really looking for a longer lasting fuel source for him so he could sleep at night. So there was 8 years of research looking at barleys, tapiocas, rices, wheats, all different types of peas and fibers and resistant starches. And really what we now call superstarch, JONAH would have a large dose at night, around 90 grams at night, and he would sleep all 8 hours. That was the only reason the company started. Our founders only put their time and money to help JONAH sleep at night, with no idea that it was actually going to morph into having huge implications for health, for diabetes, for weight loss, and for really everyday energy.
So the SUPERSTARCH, which was originally developed for for JONAH to help manage this condition, is now really spawned into the key ingredient and the unique ingredient in UCAN products. So Seth, what is SUPERSTARCH, and what makes it so different than other carbohydrates out there?
So the key is that we start off with non-GMO corn. Um, that's the only similarity to normal cornstarch. Then what really happens is that this is cooked for over 40 hours. It's the cooking method that makes this unique. It's cooked for over 40 hours with just heat and water. There's no enzymes, there's no chemicals, but the way this is cooked really swells the carbohydrate and changes the structure so it breaks down slowly over time. Um, that's really what's unique. This very much, in a way, acts like a fiber that's absorbed as energy, giving little bits of energy over time. Just for some stats, this is non-GMO. This is gluten-free. We've had some people with very serious celiac disease thrive on UCAN. And again, a lot of folks, you know, will look at the label and they'll say, oh, what is this? 20 grams of carb, or what is this? Just cornstarch. And, the label really, it's really the education that comes around the product. And again, it's the way UCAN is cooked. Non-GMO corn that's cooked for over 40 hours with just heat and water. The way it's cooked slowly releases into the body.
And I think one thing to just speak to on this point is that, Jonah, who we spoke about in the previous slide, he was previously being fed regular cornstarch that you could buy at the grocery store, finite amounts of it every 90 minutes to 2 hours to maintain his steady energy, or to maintain steady blood sugar, because he had that severe hypoglycemia. So Jonah was using regular cornstarch, but that wasn't giving him the long-lasting steady blood sugar that the superstarch provides. So, it's totally revolutionized the way he's able to manage his energy levels now, being able to load up on the superstarch and have it last him for, throughout the night for 6 to 8 hours. So this is something that's really working very, very differently than your regular cornstarch. And the non-GMO thing, I think, being out here in California and being at the clubs, it's a question I get a lot, when people hear cornstarch. And, we want to stress that this was originally developed for infants, excuse me. So a lot of the specific things about the ingredient had to be that way because it was being fed to infants. So the non-GMO is something that we take seriously and, pay a premium for when we're sourcing this carbohydrate. Seth, anything else you want to add on the actual characteristics and properties of superstarch?
No, I think let's dive into the science.
Great. So as Seth mentioned, the superstarch originally was developed for a very specific purpose, but then as the founders of UCAN saw the impact that this had on managing Jonah's energy levels and blood sugar levels, they started to think, who else could this benefit? What other people out there want to manage their glucose levels? And, for a lot of you sitting in here listening to us, you're probably saying, well, that's everybody. And we're certainly going to get to that. That's absolutely what's so cool and unique about UCAN, is it's really addressing something through this superstarch that everybody's looking for, which is steady blood sugar. Whether or not they know it, steady blood sugar is something everybody needs. But Seth, in terms of the initial research that brought this from a medical food to the consumer space, what can you tell us about what we're looking at on the screen?
So so again, because of the structure, UCAN is sitting in your intestine and it's dripping in slowly into your bloodstream, giving little bits of energy over time. If you look at this graph here, you're looking at superstarch is the red line. That was when I was describing my story on how I got interested in UCAN. That was the red line I saw, and I just wanted that red line for my energy. We compare ourselves to maltodextrin. It's a very popular carbohydrate in a lot of protein mixes and carb powders. And you see with maltodextrin, which is very similar to the way a banana acts in the body, certain cereals and fruits, you spike your blood sugar with typical carbohydrates, and your body says, burn sugar, don't burn fat right now, but also you burn through the sugar quickly. Insulin comes into the body and basically says, okay, your blood sugar is high. Let's bring your blood sugar back down. So what UCAN really is, it's a low glycemic, slow releasing carb, and it's the end point and that matters, meaning it's how long it lasts. Lots of things are going to have minimal impact on blood sugars. Think about a cup of broccoli or high fiber, fruits in a way like your raspberries. But we're giving little bits over time, and you can see that 2 hours into our test, blood sugar is almost the same. I tested my own blood sugar with UCAN, just with one of our plain packets, and my testing was I was 93 milligrams per deciliter, In the first half hour, because it does take some time to absorb, I actually dropped down to 87. And then I was at 100. So my blood sugar at the hour mark only rose 13 milligrams per deciliter, which is how we're measuring glucose. It's a very small little rise. But then I basically stayed at 100, and then 2.5 hours later, I maintained my blood sugar around 95, and I was 96 milligrams per deciliter 3.5 hours later. So my blood sugar started at 93, and 3.5 hours later, I was 96. Just very steady. Again, this is a longer lasting calorie because of the way it breaks down. And a lot of times, during exercise, if someone has a banana before exercise, I mean, the banana is probably our biggest competitor. Um, you're gonna burn through that quickly, and then especially post workout, that's where someone is having that brain hunger, and because UCAN is lasting long in the bloodstream, your blood sugar hasn't dropped, so your brain's not going, oh, sugar's low, time to eat again. So just one thing is that the first thing that most clients feel, so that because they might not know their bodies well, is that they're like, wow, I couldn't believe I wasn't hungry after the workout. We just had some personal trainers try the product at a facility in New York, and they understood and they felt that level of energy, but they were surprised that they didn't have that ravenous hunger, post exercise.
So all of that, like you were saying, Seth, is tied into the fact that the UCAN and the SUPERSTARCH, excuse me, keeps blood sugar extremely steady for an extended period of time. So this study, as you see on the screen, this was a clinical trial at the University of Oklahoma prior to us launching the products in 2010, and this was done on 9 cyclists, and so this is really this is a peer-reviewed and published study. This is really what took us from the initial thing that UCAN was created for, the medical condition, into the consumer space. The other extremely significant thing about UCAN from a carbohydrate standpoint is its impact on insulin, which we're looking at in this slide. So, Seth, a lot of folks that are listening to us probably understand the relationship between insulin and glucose, but just maybe describe that to us. Why is what we're looking at on this slide so significant? What does it tell us about SUPERSTARCH and what it can do?
Right. So the main reason why lots of carbohydrates are demonized is because of their insulin response. Again, when you have the bowl of cereal, the breads and pastas, and and certain grains, you spike your blood sugar, and your body says, let's get those calories out of the bloodstream. Let's store them away. And you can either store them as glycogen or as fat. Majority, especially if you're more insulin resistant or glucose intolerant, gets stored as fat. Your blood sugar goes back down, so you have a high and low effect, but also you're starting to store energy away. So that's one instance. And with UCAN, you don't have that response. You don't have that spike in insulin that tells your body to start storing carbs as fat or limiting your body's ability to break down fat. One of the key things that also, if you have a lot of energy in your bloodstream, why would your body ever burn fat, right? So, if you have a banana or you have that classic half a bagel before a workout, you spike your blood sugar, your body says, oh, I got all these calories in my blood. I don't need to burn fat right now. Let's wait till later. With UCAN, because of how this releases into the bloodstream, we have a very low insulin response. So this carb really doesn't have a tendency to actually store as fat. And then, especially during exercise, we actually can allow the body to break down and burn fat as fuel. Now, we're not talking about the stimulant fat burners you see in stores. We're talking about the ability to actually access your ability to break down fatty acids as fuel and send them into your bloodstream to be broken down. One of the key things is that fat breakdown during a workout really surpasses fat burning. This very much relates to our next slide, very much discussing fat breakdown and fat utilization. So because insulin stays low, we show that you can break down and burn more fat as your fuel during exercise. And every gram of fat has a glycerol backbone and 3 fatty acids attached to it. And especially even during strength training workouts or metabolic training, especially kettlebell workouts that are high intense, exercise really stimulates the ability to break down fatty acids and send them to your bloodstream. And you can burn them off during exercise and post-exercise. But post-exercise, if you decide to have, or during exercise, if your blood sugar is high and you're taking in lots of sugars, you're really impairing your ability to access and burn fat as a fuel. I know many people train for an EPOC effect where they're looking for a way to accelerate the metabolism. But if you're taking in lots of sugar either post-workout or if you had something that's going to spike your insulin before workout, you're not maximizing your body's ability to take advantage of a faster EPOC effect and a faster afterburn effect the way you could with UCAN. By keeping insulin low, you maximize the ability to burn fat throughout the workout and especially during that post-workout period.
And everything that Seth described, it's such a key aspect to understanding UCAN, especially having run a number of sample tables at the clubs over the last 3 to 4 months. Certainly, when I'm sampling the UCAN powders and people come up to the table, Seth said this at the beginning, but our label doesn't really tell the story. So people might pick up a packet of UCAN. I'll be talking to them. They'll be intrigued. They'll flip it around and they'll say, "Oh, 25 grams of carb. I need to be careful." And so it's really having that conversation with folks that when people are thinking, "Oh, I need to cut carbs to lose weight," they might not be exactly understanding what about certain types of carbs impacts weight gain or negatively impacts your ability to burn fat. So that's such a cool thing about UCAN. It's something that's going to give people the energy they need so they can actually train hard and exercise hard and also manage their hunger so they don't sabotage their workouts. It's going to help them improve their workouts. And then it's also not going to negatively impact their workouts like, people associate with a lot of carbohydrates because it's keeping this hormone insulin low. So it's an energy source that simultaneously is allowing you to access and burn fat. And I thought what such a important point that Seth made too in terms of differentiating this from a lot of like fat burner type of products. One of the other ways we think about this is UCAN is actually something that's supporting what your body and your metabolism wants to do during exercise instead of a lot of other traditional sugary things people might take, which is fighting what your metabolism wants to do. So it's not really like a fat burner, sort of stimulating things in a certain way. It's much more offering support and letting your body do what it wants to do during exercise.
Yeah.
So we've go ahead, Seth.
I was just going to say, and even there's a lot of folks out there, if they know, oh, sugar is not something I should have before workout. But it's interesting. A lot of new clients, they think, oh, I'm having my first personal training session. I better have something before. They might have a cup of orange juice or an energy bar, thinking, oh, I need energy for the workout. And it's just counteracts what they're really trying to achieve. And so that's one alternative point. And then the other is that someone who understands, okay, sugar is not a great choice for me, and they might have just a scoop of protein powder before a workout, or protein and fat, maybe a scoop of protein powder, a tablespoon of peanut butter, trying to limit sugars. They're really not providing the fuel for their body to have steady blood sugar during their workouts. Protein really curbs hunger in the stomach, and it's not going to keep them steady to support the workout efforts and support blood sugar post workouts. One more point is that Dr. Jeff Volek, he signed on as our science advisor. We did a webinar with him actually yesterday on managing your energy with a low carb diet. And I mean, I think Jeff hasn't had a carb in 20 years. He hates carbs. And when we were looking at the discovery of UCAN for other things besides the original disease that it was meant for, glycogen storage disease, Jeff said, you have something here that's not going to spike blood sugar, not going to spike insulin. People need a fuel source. And you have a carb that's not going to block your ability to burn fat. And so a lot of folks that understand that they want to go low carb, they understand that UCAN is a tool to bring to their diet.
Awesome, Seth. Cool. So then we've given you guys some of the basic science behind UCAN. So let's really now talk specifically about how you can implement it in a variety of ways, either for yourself or with your clients and members. So this is the UCAN product family, and what you guys carry at Club Sport. You have 2 flavors currently of our powders, which feature the SUPERSTARCH carbohydrate, and you also have the UCAN snack bars, which feature the SUPERSTARCH as well. We have some other products too, but for today's discussion, we're going to focus really on what's available at Club Sport. So, Seth, we've addressed this a little bit, but let's first start about talking about UCAN as a pre-exercise food choice. I think a lot of this stuff we've said again, but why is UCAN so powerful in that pre-workout period?
So the first thing is when you have one of the limiting factors for a lot of folks to achieve success when they're with their clients is the fact that if someone's client, if your blood sugar drops when you're exercising, your body's going to compensate afterward with hunger. Sometimes we've started lectures at fitness facilities, and one personal trainer at a club I was at recently, so one person fainted, and they have to run down to the cafe to get orange juice for their client. So it's like it leads you right into the fact that maintaining blood sugar is really what's key. And it's not maintaining blood sugar. A lot of people think, oh, my is this good for diabetes, or they associate blood sugar with only diabetes. We're trying to bring to the forefront that in a protein-dominated industry right now, that what you choose before you work out, not just post-workout, but what you choose before you work out has an impact not only on your energy during the workout, but in terms of curbing hunger after exercise too, and how you feel the rest of the day. If you drain your glycogen during a workout, and your body's compensating for low blood sugar, you will have energy issues, for majority of the rest of the day. And we don't want to play catch up with the body. We want to be proactive. So UCAN is used instead of a banana. Instead of just having a scoop of protein, you would add a scoop of UCAN to your protein. It's used instead of the half a bagel, the slice of bread with peanut butter, like all those types of foods that we think about. And UCAN is a food product. When teams buy this, they use their food budget, not their supplement budget. So it's a proactive way to actually fuel the body, not just thinking about recovery that a lot of folks are thinking about now.
And one of the practical things with UCAN that perhaps Seth and I forget to address sometimes too is just the ease of the carbohydrate on the stomach. So the superstarch is an extremely complex and structurally large molecule that passes through the stomach rapidly. So for those of you that have had a chance to try any of the UCAN products, you'll notice that it doesn't sit heavy in your stomach at all. And this is a huge plus for so many people before a morning boot camp workout. They might not want to wake up early enough to fuel and to eat anything because they're afraid of how it'll sit in their stomach, or even coming into a workout in the evening, they might not know what exactly to have that won't have them feeling heavy or bloated. So that's a huge plus of UCAN, outside of the energy that it offers, that steadiness in blood sugar and energy, also the ease of digestion. This is something that you can have 30 minutes before a workout, both the bars and the drink, and it's not going to sit heavy.
Exactly.
So Seth, in terms of the pre-workout angle, let's share a very practical application. So this is we're going to reference a study that was done in a lab setting. Comparing basically people prior to exercising. They had a scoop of the tropical orange UCAN, which is our powder, versus a Cliff Bar. Which those of you, all of you, have probably recognize is for a lot of people who don't know better, perhaps it's a common pre-workout food choice. So you can see here on the screen the nutritional profile, the comparison between the Cliff Bar and the UCAN drink. But let's really look at the next slide, which will show us the blood sugar impact of the Cliff Bar versus UCAN. So what are we seeing here, Seth?
Yeah, so if you compare Cliff Bar versus UCAN, in fact, this Cliff has a macronutrient that's not just pure carbohydrate, right? You've got some protein, you've got some fiber, you've got some carbohydrates. So the theory would be that the carbs and the fiber and protein would slow down the absorption of the carbohydrate. And a lot of people think that that's a way to really achieve energy as well, is to balance your carbs and proteins. And that is one way to do things. And so if you look at the Cliff Bar, you don't see a huge rise in blood sugar the way you might with sugar. Sugar would take blood sugar probably from an average of 60 milligrams per deciliter up to 120 right away. And you see here the Cliff Bar took blood sugar from roughly 75 milligrams per deciliter up to 100 milligrams per deciliter. But then what happens? It's pretty interesting. Once you start exercising, your muscle cell receptors open up and they want to take in glucose rapidly. So so a lot of people experience what in this concept, which is really exercise-induced low blood sugar. Especially new clients, they're starting off. They have no training effects. Their glycogen levels are low, right? They have no reason to grow their glycogen because they haven't been exercising. And their body compensates. They pull in more sugar from their bloodstream to compensate for the low fuel source in their muscle cell, and they get low blood sugar during exercise. So that's one thing that happens. But if you have an insulin response and you have a blood sugar rise right before exercise, now not only do you have your muscle cell receptors opening up to accept glucose during exercise, but the insulin response from the food you ate is also exacerbating the effect of high blood sugar, then low blood sugar, and this is occurring during the first 15 minutes of exercise. That's the last time you want your clients to start getting low blood sugar. And a Cliff Bar is just a classic example of what folks are. They're on their way to the gym, or they're leaving the house and they grab something quick and think it's clean ingredients and they go for it. And if you look with UCAN, compared to having that high and low effect right away, and then the body compensating, starting to raise blood sugar back up, probably with the cortisol response, trying to raise blood sugar back up with stress hormones. We start off at 70 milligrams per deciliter, and we rise around only 16 milligrams per deciliter, and then we hover within a 5 to 10 milligram range, keeping blood sugar steady throughout exercise, very tightly knit, avoiding that drop in blood sugar that's occurring during the initial period of exercise. So we're really trying to manage and avoid that exercise-induced low blood sugar. And I mean, I have a real feeling that the reason why a lot of new clients don't enjoy exercise is because their brain and their muscles are competing for the same fuel in their bloodstream. And their muscle cells are selfish. Again, they're taking in the glucose out of the bloodstream into the muscle cell to use. And your brain's left with nothing. So a lot of people, they sometimes don't enjoy exercise because their brains aren't happy. And with UCAN, we're slowly releasing into the body, feeding the brain, and at the same time, we're teaching the body to actually access fat for fuel as insulin levels actually stay low and managed, really supporting the training adaptations that a personal trainer, I spend so much time on program design for clients, thinking about the exact ratios of exercise and what to do for them. And I just felt like if they were having a Luna bar, a Cliff bar, or even if they weren't eating before, I just felt like we were wasting time. We were spiking blood sugar. And I actually was very influenced, I think, by the writer Alan Cosgrove, who basically was talking about if you don't get results within the first 4 weeks with your clients, you're going to lose them. So I was really motivated to get fast results with my clients, and if they weren't eating the right foods before the workout, it just felt like a waste of time.
So we've touched on the application of UCAN pre-workout and sort of the energy maintenance, which can tie into performance. But this is all very much also all these concepts are very, very much interrelated. So next we want to move on and share a case study in terms of how one client was able to use UCAN to really achieve, as a tool to help her achieve really incredible weight loss results. And Seth, you talked about this at the beginning, but so much of this whole fluctuation in blood sugar can really impact the way people feel after a workout in terms of their hunger levels. And so for a lot of people, using UCAN surrounding a workout, whether it's pre or post workout, even using UCAN pre-workout is going to give you that steady blood sugar and not have you be so depleted or low after your exercise, because the UCAN still stays with you, which can definitely impact hunger. But tell us a little bit about the client that we're going to look at on the next screen and how she was really able to implement UCAN throughout her day to achieve remarkable weight loss.
So this client I met, at a fitness facility out in New Jersey, and she told me that she didn't stop chewing for 5 hours in the morning. She would snack on chips, crackers, and goldfish. And it was amazing. When I spoke with her, she said, when I tried UCAN, it flipped the switch. And she started having, was really working on switching her diet and implementing UCAN and protein as a mid-morning snack. And then she was also having UCAN in the afternoon. And, her trainer had just basically said, when going from a typical American diet to healthy eating, UCAN helps you feel like the rug hasn't been ripped under you. And so a lot of what we've discussed so far in the initial slides and the UCAN versus Cliff Bar slide was a lot about, pre-exercise food. And we're really diving in here now to the whole concept of how UCAN is used as a tool to really stabilize blood sugar in between meals. So, so if you look at it, Tara was basically having, she was skipping breakfast, having fast food for her meals. She was also having 3 20-ounce Dr. Peppers per day. So that's a lot of sugar intake she was having. And she was using UCAN as a tool to help her actually improve her eating habits at meals. So she started having eggs for breakfast with some veggies, and then also having lots of protein and veggie-based meals. And by having UCAN in between those meals, she would approach each meal with steady blood sugar and avoid the need to overeat and avoid those cravings she was having.
So Seth, you sort of set the scene as we move into the next phase of the discussion. So we've talked a lot about the UCAN around the workouts, but and actually this is just a quick visual to show you that the UCAN is a truly different carbohydrate. Many people might have some oats or a slice of bread prior to a workout versus a scoop of UCAN, but really the 20 grams of carb from a scoop of UCAN, as we've showed you with the graphs and charts previously, is really lasting significantly longer because of that slow release and that blood sugar maintenance than that traditional slice of bread or the banana that Seth's talked about. So this is really a very different type of carbohydrate, and just will emphasize again that flipping around the label and seeing, oh, this is 20 grams of carbs or 25 grams of carbs, it's really not going to tell the story, because, you know, if you put it to the test yourself and try, you know, a slice of wheat bread before a workout versus a scoop of UCAN before a workout, you will notice the extended energy that you feel. But Seth, as we move into the next phase of the discussion, so we've talked a lot about fitness and workouts, but there's also some significant emerging research on UCAN as it regards to diabetes and overall health. It's obviously a huge problem that we're going through here in the U.S. and really in the world, with an estimated one-third of U.S. adults 20 years or older with prediabetes, and you know, shockingly, only 11% of them being aware that they have prediabetes. So UCAN can really be a tool for a lot of these folks to help manage their blood sugar and get their health back on track. What can you tell us about the research that's been conducted on UCAN specific to diabetes thus far?
Yeah, so when we speak to personal trainers, a lot of them, you know, that are results oriented, they say the number one issue they have with clients is glucose control. So, you know, we actually UCAN is now being used. It's a formula of 15 grams of UCAN and 15 grams of protein, and there was actually research done back in February in the journal Parental and Enteral Nutrition, with 24 subjects, 17 women and 7 men. And, you know, this looks like a typical profile of a client, right? 55 and a half years old, BMI is 38, so they're classified as overweight, and, you know, blood sugar is elevated, 102.4 milligrams per deciliter, so above that 100. And then A1C is also elevated. A1C is a measure of that glucose in the bloodstream, in the blood. That's a longer-term effect. And 5.72% is prediabetes. Because above 5.5% is prediabetes. And we compared this formula, 15 grams of UCAN and 15 grams of protein. And again, this is a formula that you can create at Club Sport, right? You could take a scoop of our plain UCAN, a scoop of Cocoa Delight UCAN, and pair it with your protein powder, I think the Pure Whey, the Club Sport protein, and you basically are almost at 80% of this formula besides some microminerals. So you have the opportunity to create a food with, medical-backed research. And if you look at our blood sugar curve that we showed, we compared this to oatmeal. And with the UCAN and protein formula, blood sugar rises only around 15 milligrams per deciliter, then stabilizing and then declining steadily. Very similar to what we showed initially in our own research, but now this is being used with added protein compared to oatmeal, because oatmeal is really recommended as obviously a much healthier, heart-healthy food. But you're raising blood sugar around 37 milligrams per deciliter. You aren't stabilizing for 30 minutes even, and then right as you see that blue line coming down from 60 minutes to 90 minutes, that's what's triggering appetite, right? We overeat because of the hunger in our brains, and a lot of times because of blood sugar issues and blood sugar dropping. Your brain is really going, hey, sugar's low, time to eat again. And a lot of times when we eat, we really have to think, is this the hunger in our stomach, or is this really the hunger in our brains, and is it from stress-related issues? So with all the issues going on with stress and with being overweight or starting a new exercise program, really using UCAN as a tool to manage blood sugar becomes a powerful way for a trainer to really achieve results with that client.
Similarly, Seth, there was another study that the study you just presented was on 24 pre-diabetic individuals. There's another UCAN study that was just released this summer that were on 108 overweight and obese adults with type 2 diabetes. Tell us about that.
So this was a study, what I just showed you was a snapshot of blood sugar, and now we're looking at 108 subjects over 16 weeks, so 4 months, and there were 3 different groups in this study. One group followed the American Diabetes Association diet, typical carb control diet. The second group basically followed the Way Up program at the Joslin Center and a calorie control program with using the UCAN and protein formula 1 to up to 3 times per day as a meal replacement shake. And then the third group, really had the same formula again, a calorie controlled diet with 1 to 3 meal replacement shakes of UCAN, maybe doing breakfast and lunch, replacing those meals with meal replacement shake. And and then the third group really had a weekly coaching call. That was the only difference. So what's interesting is that the A1C levels, again, that 3-month diabetic marker, it actually rose by zero point 0.2 in the American Diabetes Association diet in this study. But A1C levels dropped by 0.63 in one group and 0.67 in the other group using the UCAN and protein formula. So what's interesting is, to be classified as a diabetic drug, I think you have to drop A1C levels by 0.5 over this period of time. And we surpassed that, dropping an average of 0.65 points. So, the goal of many diabetic medications is to block carbohydrate absorption, slow it down, reduce its absorption. But we have a food that does it on its own, slowly releasing, managing your blood sugar. So many people are looking at, if they're looking at alternative ways besides diabetic medication, they look at, cinnamon or chromium or kind of insulin modulators and cofactors, and we really have a calorie source that someone can have. If you're someone who has eggs for breakfast and a bowl of cereal, you can continue with the eggs, but now, have a scoop of UCAN with your breakfast as the carbohydrate portion of your breakfast. So there's ways to kind of really look at your clients and see when they need UCAN. If they're having a bagel for breakfast, great way to start off with 2 scoops of UCAN with the Club Sport protein, and boom, you have your meal replacement shake. Blood sugar stays steady, insulin stays low, and you're not having the negative effects of the processed carbs in the bagel.
So with everything we've presented thus far, I hopefully you guys can see that there's really a diverse set of applications for UCAN based on your own personal goals and the goals of the individual clients you're working with. This same product that can be very beneficial for high-end athletic performance and maintaining energy for difficult and long-lasting workouts is also really beneficial to help you manage your weight, as we talked about in the case study. It's extremely significant for a host of metabolic health issues, as well as for blood sugar management as it pertains to diabetes, which Seth just spoke about. From an everyday energy standpoint, I know the GM of the club at Fremont, she was telling me a couple weeks ago that she has a UCAN shake every morning prior to coming into work, and she's just amazed that she really noticed the difference when she stopped doing that, how hungry she was getting and snacking mid-morning. So the everyday energy aspect of it also, just to help you control your hunger or to maintain steady energy levels throughout your workday. That's the beauty that we see. When somebody invests in a tub of UCAN, it's not like something that they just can use for a very specific purpose, in their life, or if they're training for a specific type of activity. It's really something that they can get several different uses out of and add it to their day and to their diet in a whole variety of ways. So that the diversity of UCAN is really what's so exciting about it. And as we just kind of summarize the benefits of the products, really everything is centered around this idea of stable blood sugar. When your blood sugar is stable, you're able to have this healthy energy without sugars. You're able to stay energized longer. You're able to control your hunger because you're not sort of a slave to the hunger cravings that come with swings in blood sugar. And you finally have a workout snack that will help you feel good from an energy standpoint during your workout, and that also won't mess with your stomach for a workout. So it's really the ideal workout snack. Just a couple more slides here, Seth, as we get ready to wrap this up. If people want to get started with UCAN, either for themselves or for their clients, what's a good kind of a challenge for people to really test this out and implement this?
Yeah, so I know we're really talking about a lot of different ways, and one of the things is that based on individualization and knowing the ways that UCAN can be used, then the fitness professional and the personal trainer can then go back to their client and figure out what works best for them. There's so many different ways to use UCAN, but there's also, think about it, not every client can back squat, right? You can goblet squat, you can single leg squat, you can front squat and Zerger squat. So it's all about individualizing the tool of UCAN for the client, just like the way you'll individualize an exercise program. So, one of the key ways to start off with a client, especially someone who is overeating and looking to control their energy and their blood sugar, we really, a UCAN challenge is a great way to start people off. Our bars, our UCAN snack bars, they have a smaller serving size of UCAN. They range from 10 grams of UCAN SUPERSTARCH to 15 grams of UCAN SUPERSTARCH, while the tubs and the scoops in a tub have around 20. So lots of folks, and personal trainers challenge their clients to 30 days of utilizing UCAN throughout the day as a tool. And one way they do it is they have, you have your healthy breakfast, and then mid-morning you have a UCAN snack bar to tide you and bridge you between breakfast and lunch. So now you approach lunch with steady blood sugar versus that drop in blood sugar that occurs. And you do have a lot of clients complain, that they were busy, they ran to the deli to get lunch, and they grabbed a bag of chips as they're waiting for their lunch. And that's a real sign of stress-based eating. And the goal of UCAN is to teach clients to curb brain hunger that's causing that stress-based eating. And that proactive approach of having a snack bar mid-morning is going to allow clients to make the right food choices at lunch. Again, UCAN is a tool to help clients transition from their poor eating habits to improved eating habits. And so you have your healthy lunch, and then mid-afternoon, one of the key ways to get results is to have your clients keep a tub at work, keep a tub of the Club Sport protein, keep a tub of UCAN at work. So there's no excuses. Bring a blender bottle there. Then there's not the excuse of, oh, I forgot to bring my UCAN powder and protein to work that day. And at mid-afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock, after you've had lunch, again, keeping blood sugar steady. This really actually helps with afternoon productivity too. So many times energy drops between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. And that UCAN there is going to curb hunger in the brain. Again, because we're slowly releasing into the bloodstream, keeping blood sugar steady. And the protein really only curbs hunger in the stomach. So we really have to look at it as a tool to do that. And you're also going to have the energy standpoint, right? For the next couple hours, you will stay steady. And then whether dinner's at 7 or 8 p.m., it doesn't matter because your blood sugar is still steady. And if you have to work late at work, you're not going to get that hunger that's going to occur and reduce your energy and reduce your productivity. So this is one way that you can introduce UCAN. And if a workout is in the evening, that mid-afternoon snack becomes also the pre-workout snack before exercise. And the workout is at lunch, you could have a snack bar before the workout. If someone is working out at 6 a.m. before breakfast, they might just have another scoop of UCAN. So this is the kind of thing where you could have this, 2 or 3 times per day used throughout the day. I know as a lot of personal trainers think if 1 scoop is good, 2 scoops must be great, and 3 scoops must be outstanding. But this is not, limited. You could have a scoop of UCAN just to start off to get the ball rolling. One personal trainer I know out in Tennessee, he had a client who was doing everything right, really locked into results, and was really having a diet based on lots of veggies, healthy proteins, and she was still having cravings though. It's like you're trying to eat much healthier, but if you're used to a certain way of eating and you move to healthy eating, a lot of those cravings still linger. And as one department manager I know, he said, who doesn't have potato chip cravings? And this client was having those cravings and really hit a plateau because the cravings were limiting her weight loss. So we implemented the UCAN challenge with her, and she actually lost 8 pounds in the next 30 days. So again, it's a way to break plateaus by really realizing that by balancing blood sugar, we limit the excess calories and we help the body metabolically, and that plays a role over time to get better results for clients.
So Seth, I know we've run a little bit over the time we had today. There were a few more slides kind of diving a little bit more into the UCAN snack bars, but what we can certainly do is we'll send around this presentation, and a lot of those slides will just give all of you folks some different ideas on how to implement it. There's a few summary slides at the end of this presentation as well that can be helpful resources for you to reference. UCAN at its simplest, and overall UCAN summary, and key usage times. But we do want to, if there are any questions that people have, we do want to open it up certainly now, as well as you can always reach out to Seth and myself directly by email. We'll be sending you guys all a follow-up email with the full recording and both of our contact info. So if there's any questions at all there, once you get more familiar with the products or have time to really dive into this, then we're always available as resources. Just one more thing I wanted to add for everybody. We're really appreciative of everybody investing time and joining us on this today. We are going to be sending out a link here with the follow-up recording of the webinar for all of you to redeem a free UCAN sample box with a variety of our different products for you all to try. And that's 100% free, no shipping charge, no nothing. It'll just come to you as a link in the email, and you just need to click there and enter in your shipping information, and that can be shipped directly to wherever you want to have us send it to. So with that, I just really want to thank everybody, and just kind of understanding myself and Seth's role with Club Sport. You know, me being local here in the Bay Area, you can feel free, as some of you folks already have done, to reach out to me if there's events at the club, if there's marketing opportunities, if you know, there's anything you'd like UCAN to be part of locally. You know, I'm very happy to be involved with that and take part in that. Seth, having his nutrition and training background, certainly would be the guy to go to for your in-depth nutrition or science questions. I mean, if I see you at the club, you can, of course, feel free to ask me anything you'd like. And for a lot of them, I may be able to give you an answer. But for those of you wanting to really dive deeper into some of the science and the implementation of it, Seth, as you know, as you can tell, has a lot of the scientific background, but also has a lot of the practical experience in terms of working with other gyms and clubs and trainers as well. So, with that, just want to thank everybody for being on. Seth, anything you'd like to leave the folks in the audience with before we sign off?
No, just excited for everybody who maybe hasn't tried UCAN yet. You know, if anybody out there is a personal trainer or working long hours, especially if you're training clients back to back to back, or you're in back to back meetings, it's really UCAN. You'll notice how, you know, without leading anybody on, you'll really notice how you feel differently and able to stay focused and not let low blood sugar or hunger get in your way. And if you love training, the best part about UCAN is that anytime you want to train, you can, because you'll have steady blood sugar. Even if you've had poor sleep the night before, or you're really busy during the day, it's a great way to actually. It's so tough timing a meal before exercise. But then again, you know, the way UCAN affects your brain is, you know, no food can have that impact. So we're excited for anybody who hasn't tried it yet, and to really share the opportunities with UCAN.
Awesome, Seth. Well, thanks for being on here with us today, and thanks to everybody for tuning in and listening to Seth and I. And hopefully we kind of enhanced your understanding of UCAN and gave you some ideas on different ways to use it. So stay tuned for all the follow-up information. You'll be getting that here in the next hour or two to the email that you signed up with. I'll also be sending it to some of the leadership so they can distribute it to anyone who wasn't able to register as well. But big thanks to all of you. Happy holidays to everybody. And Seth and I both look forward to seeing a lot of you guys at the clubs here in a couple weeks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.